You're sitting in your room, looking up at the ceiling, and thinking, what if that were the floor? What if gravity just flipped, and suddenly you and your chair were floating up like a slow-motion popcorn kernel in reverse? Could you actually reverse gravity in your room? Well, let's float into that idea, without the part where your bed crashes into the ceiling fan. First, we need to understand what gravity actually is. It's not just some invisible force dragging your snacks to the floor. Gravity is the warping of space-time caused by mass. That's right, Einstein-style space-time spaghetti. The more mass something has, the more it bends the fabric of space-time, and that bend pulls objects toward it. Earth bends space-time a lot. That's why apples fall, moons orbit, and you don't drift off your couch every time you sneeze. Now, when people imagine reversing gravity, what they usually mean is, I want things to fall up. But technically, you can't just flip gravity like a light switch, unless you're planning to rearrange the mass of the Earth or rewrite the laws of physics. Which, by the way, is frowned upon without proper permits. But could we simulate reverse gravity? Could you walk into your room and suddenly be weightless, or fall upward? In space, astronauts experience microgravity, which is often called zero gravity, even though it's not really zero. They're just in free fall, constantly falling around the Earth, which makes them appear to float. So one way to reverse gravity in your room is to move your room to orbit. Bit of a budget problem there. Okay, what about using magnets? You've probably seen frogs or grapes levitated in science videos using extremely powerful magnetic fields. This is called diamagnetic levitation. Everything is diamagnetic to some extent, it just means objects repel a magnetic field slightly. But to actually float something like a person, you'd need an insanely strong magnetic field, think hundreds of thousands of times stronger than a fridge magnet. Also, you need to shield all your electronics, because that level of magnetism would wipe every hard drive in the neighborhood and possibly rearrange your brain a little. So, levitating your cat with magnets? Theoretically possible. Practical? Probably not, unless your cat is also a physicist. Another idea, could you create some sort of artificial gravity reversal using spinning? Technically, yes. Spin something fast enough, and you can simulate gravity on the outside. This is what space stations in sci-fi movies do, they rotate to create centrifugal force, which pushes objects outward, mimicking gravity. But to reverse gravity, you need to be inside that rotating shell, and even then, you're not flipping gravity, just redirecting the sensation of it. What about anti-gravity? That mysterious sci-fi concept that shows up whenever someone wants to hover a car or build a Death Star. Here's the truth, there is no known material, field, or device that actually cancels gravity. Scientists have searched for anti-gravity-like effects, especially in relation to dark energy or hypothetical particles like gravitons, but so far, nada. So, let's bust some myths. Myth number 1, you can reverse gravity by flipping a switch or building a negative mass machine. Sorry, but negative mass is still a purely theoretical concept, and it would behave very weirdly, like accelerating backwards when pushed. Not exactly helpful when you're just trying to eat cereal on the ceiling. Myth number 2, zero gravity means no gravity. Nope. Even in space, gravity is still at play. The only reason astronauts float is because they're in free fall, not because gravity vanished. Myth number 3, gravity is weaker on the ceiling. It's not. Unless you have a black hole under your floor or your ceiling is somehow in a separate dimension, gravity acts the same from floor to ceiling. It always pulls toward the center of the Earth. So could you reverse gravity in your room? Technically, no. But if you're dreaming of floating in your socks like a space wizard, there are some fun workarounds. You could build a massive magnetic chamber and try to levitate fruit. Or simulate weightlessness with a parabolic flight. Or, if you're lucky enough to go to space one day, you could live that upside-down dream for real. Until then, gravity's here to stay. It may be clingy, but it's also the reason your cereal doesn't float away every morning. If you enjoyed this gravity-defying thought experiment, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more curious questions with a scientific twist. And drop your favorite hypothetical in the comments, maybe you'll inspire the next video. Until then, stay grounded. Literally.